Diversity and Inclusion Portfolio by Stacey Williams. What is differentiation? Differentiation is teaching in ways that makes learning accessible for all students. Tomlinson states that differentiation responds to the idea that within every classroom there are students with a unique set of needs, readiness for tasks, backgrounds and interests that may impact upon their learning. It is recognised by Jarvis that there are three key pillars to effective differentiation: philosophy, principles and practice, as demonstrated in Figure 1 below. Considering these components, it can be concluded that differentiation is the process of modifying, evolving and expanding teaching philosophy, principles and practice to be inclusive of the diverse needs of all students and to provide each student with the appropriate challenge required to learn effectively. This concept draws on the questions: what is inclusion? And what does it mean to be inclusive in the educational context? Ainscough and Miles suggest that there are four central components that comprise the definition of inclusion: presence, participation, progress or achievement, and sense of belonging. In other words, there's a link between a student's presence in the classroom, the access to participation in tasks and experiences, their ability to progress and achieve educational outcomes, and a student's overall sense of belonging within the classroom. School Diversity and Inclusion Profile. My final practicum was in a Category 2 school which consisted of 220 students ranging from Foundation to Year 7. Within this, there were 50% of government assistant students, 10% Indigenous students and 15% of students with disabilities. There are a great number of student differences identified as having an impact within the Foundation and Year 1 class that I taught over my practicum. These included intellectual disabilities or disorders. I had one student in my class with autism spectrum disorder, and I also had two students undergoing speech therapy at school. Cultural differences. I had multiple Indigenous students within my class. I also had one student with English as a second language. As a Category 2 school, the majority of the students came from a low socioeconomic background. As a result of this, there were also numerous students who came from a traumatic background and 3 children who were under guardianship of the minister or in foster care. Each of these student differences have significant and highly different implications for teaching and learning in the classroom. They were addressed accordingly by the school and the teachers in a number of ways and through a number of different programs. In classroom situations, there are many examples of tasks being modified to suit the readiness, interests, and learner profiles for different students. For example, I observed my mentor teacher differentiating by readiness by tier grouping students based on their previous lesson outcomes and by scaffolding a maths lesson at different levels to suit the needs of each group of students. As our class had a lot of students with behaviour problems and learning difficulties, we were lucky enough to have a full-time SSO in our classroom. Our SSO worked with specific students whilst implementing a range of literacy and numeracy activities to assist with catering to student needs. With quite a large number of Indigenous students, the school has quite a strong commitment to providing equitable education for these particular students. The school has 2 Aboriginal education teachers and also provided group activities and excursions to enable these students to experience their culture and feel inclusive within the school. Other roles that support the diverse needs of students include the school counsellor, special needs teacher who manages the student learning support program, a visiting speech pathologist, and an occupational therapist. There are some areas in which teachers could improve their philosophy and practice of differentiation, in particular through assessment and setting clear expectations for knowledge, understanding and do's. There are also limited formal strategies in place to extend and challenge academically gifted students.
created using Powtoon.